Hello and welcome to the Videotero weekly vlog. I'm Shelley Carney.
And I'm Toby Younis. Stick around with us for a couple of seconds and we'll tell you how to socialize like the big boys.
And let's get started. Today we're going to talk about our top 5 tips for socializing like the big brands. Number 1, increase ad spend. Are you spending anything on your Facebook advertising? Or are you just hoping for people to organically come to your site because of what you put out there? The big brands are increasing their ad spend. Number 2, Facebook video. Big brands are using video on Facebook. Native video, they're using Facebook Live, they're using 360, they're using VR. So they're very heavily investing in video on Facebook. Number 3, media content. Are you putting out content that is newsworthy, educational, informational, not just an advertisement? Number 4, influencers and social proof. So do you have influencers who are helping you to promote your brand? And number 5, social activism. Are you taking advantage of the social activism in your community? Number 1, increase social media ad spend. Here you see the increasing from 2014 to 2015 up to 2019. Now, most of the big brands take about 11% of their total budget for marketing. 1/3 of that they spend on digital marketing. 1/3 of that they spend on social media. So they are heavily investing in their social media, and that amount continues to grow every year.
And that's a relatively recent transition for those large companies. I did work for some of those companies back in the early 2000s, and they were nowhere near where they started to get starting around 2011, 2012, as they watched this boom towards the social media and in combination with the social media, the mobilization of the message, as I like to call it.
A social advertising ecology. We see here that there are a lot of social platforms available. There's paid media, owned properties, social platforms, earned media. These are all the ways you have in your company to spread your message. In the paid media would include advertising, anything that you're paying for. Could include banners and displays and signage. It could include endorsements. It could include newspaper ads or commercials on television. Earned media, well, that would be your content, things that you're putting out there in public to get their attention. Social platforms, we're talking about your influencers and posts from your users. And owned properties would be your website, your social media pages, and your property.
We probably need to get a copy of this diagram to the audience other than this, because they're not going to be able to see the detail. Mm-hmm. The reason is this is a really complex Venn diagram, and what you have to look at are the intersections between each of these and in this circle, which is where your target is. And as you can see, what they consider probably the most valuable in terms of intersection is the quality of your content and what kind of content you're producing so that it builds trust, that it educates, you're doing a good job of curating it, and that means organizing it so that it makes sense. The other big important areas is this one over between earned media and social platforms, where the earned media comes as a result of the fact that you're engaging what are referred to as the influencers, the bloggers or the YouTubers that are making an impact. I watched a YouTube video this morning of a guy who's from Arkansas who was drinking a Miller Lite while he was doing the video, but he was talking about the Old Town Predator kayak, and mentions that the reason he's doing this is because Old Town sent him that kayak in order for him to make YouTube videos about his fishing exploits in, did I say Alabama or Arkansas, one of the others. He's an influencer. He has 1.2 million subscribers. Light beer or not, people are listening to him. The other thing is to make the distinction between your digital properties like your catalog and website and what the Ecology calls embassies, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and how many of those you're taking advantage of. And then the intersections here are going to be the most important for you in terms of ROI, in terms of that return on what the investment that you're making. But this ecology is very different from the advertising ecology that we saw just, 10 years ago.
This is a quote from Mark Zuckerberg. I think video is a mega trend, almost as big as mobile. Okay, mobile has exploded in the last 10 to 15 years. It went from having a cell phone was a luxury to kids all have cell phones nowadays. You expect everybody to have a cell phone in their hand to do, and not just a cell phone, but a smartphone, so they can interact online and they can look things up and they can find your business and they can GPS and they can do anything. That's mobile. And he believes video is going to be just as big, which means everybody is going to be using video to promote their business, to communicate with other people, and who knows what, because we didn't have any idea 5 years ago how far smartphones could take us.
When you realize that you're within one $19 investment away from doing virtual reality on your smartphone, that's how far we come. Whatever you think about Mark Zuckerberg, there is no analyst that would deny that Mark Zuckerberg has his finger on the pulse of what's happening in social media marketing, especially when it comes to mobile platforms and video. You can trust pretty much that he has a good sense of what direction this is heading.
Okay, number 3, Facebook video. So we have native Facebook video, which includes 360 video and VR, which are still just on the cutting edge, and Facebook Live, which has been around for about a year now. So here's some great stats we have over here on the side. Videos up to 2 minutes long get the most engagement. Well, that was a surprise to me, but it's good to know. 65% of people who watch the first 3 seconds will watch for at least 10 seconds, so make those early seconds count. Now, we've already talked about that. If you want to grab somebody's attention in the feed as they're scrolling, you got to do it in the first 3 seconds. 85% of Facebook videos are watched without sound. We also talked about this. So you want to design your ads to be seen without sound and still be understandable. Facebook is rated as the most impactful social channel for video, and it's 8.4 times higher than any other social channel. So Facebook is initially free. And as we said, increase your ad spend, put a little bit of money on that, and you can really push your message out to the whole world. Facebook video receives on average 135% more organic reach than a Facebook photo. So once again, Facebook video is going to get more attention than a photo or an image. And 4 times as many consumers would rather watch a video about a product than read about it, which makes sense. If it's about a product, you want to see it, because if you can't touch it, you at least want to see it from all angles and know how it works.
There's a couple of things. Number one, there's a company called Outdoor Play, and they make videos about all their products, and they're mostly rubber floating kayaks, boats, etc., etc. But I noticed that about 6 months ago, they started making all their videos 2 minutes long. Product descriptions, product utilization, product support, whatever it was, they're all about 2 minutes long. I used to quote, and I can't remember her name now, a psychologist back in the 80s and 90s when I do presentations, and she'd say, people make a decision about you in the first 30 seconds of your first meeting. Well, that time has been reduced to 3 seconds, and it better be pretty. So it better be high quality content, in a video form. You can migrate eventually into 360 and VR. That'll come with time as the technology, the barriers are now the price of technology. Although Samsung, the guys that make cell phones, will sell you a 360 camera now for $399, $299, something like that. So we're not far away technology from this being a reality, and seeing how people will use it to promote themselves, their companies, and their products.
Nope. Media content. Oh, wow. This is because media publications have increased interactions by 23% in the last 3 years, which means companies like BuzzFeed or those that put out news or even human interest news are getting a lot more interaction than, say, just putting out a brand, which is why you saw so many brands during the Super Bowl being socially active and acting like they were providing news as well. This gets a lot more interaction from their customers.
So there's a full range of media brands that start with the large companies like the NBCs of the world, MSNBC, regardless of what your politics. See what they're doing, especially in the form of live video. Watch what they're doing. Watch how they're promoting their various events. Watch what they're talking about. And then migrate down from there to the smaller media companies like AJ Plus or even PBS. There's a couple of other companies. Again, this is irrespective of your politics. Just look at it from a practical perspective and see what they're doing in terms of not only the quality of their content, how they're structuring their content, and how they're utilizing that content to reach out to their customers. I don't know whether we've come up on the statistic about how many videos are watched with the sound off. Is that later in the presentation, or did you mention that earlier?
I think it was 85%.
Yeah, 85% of people watch their videos with the sound off. Well, that means you've got to do something else to communicate with them if you don't have things like music and narration or voiceover. And then get down to these not quite pure, I call them millennial media companies like BuzzFeed, who made their growth dependent upon the millennials and how the millennials consumed content. And the only reason I'm recommending it is just, like them so you can see what they're doing. You don't actually have to read them. You don't have to actually believe in their political point of view, but look at what they're doing and learn from that.
And a lot of it is storytelling. So I recently saw an advertisement for a sock company, and they talked a lot about the people involved in creating the socks and how they give away socks to the needy. So they told an entire story. Rather than promoting their socks, they were promoting this story. But in the meantime, people appreciated that about the company, and then they would want to buy the socks.
Basically, there's a whole bunch of branding companies. From a men's perspective, I got socks, I've got underwear, I've got shirts in 3 different variations, et cetera, that are branding companies, but they depend upon media to carry their message on social and mobile platforms to whatever their respective markets are.
And I just put this up here because I thought it was important to say high quality content resonates with your audience. It gets them to engage and take action. We talked about engagement with your online customers last week, and that's the number one thing you can do to get them to purchase from you is to engage.
And if you're good at how to use this technology, high quality content can be produced and you never have to leave your smartphone to be able to do it. That's where it's getting to. And so you should be very good at understanding what your smartphone can do, not only from a capture perspective, but the post-production, the editing perspective, and the adding text and things like that. It can all be done on a smartphone. Now, if your thumbs are little chubby thumbs like me, it gets to be a little bit more difficult, but there's ways to do it, and Shelley's much faster at that than
There's a lot of great apps out there.
Yeah, there are indeed.
Work with influencers and user-generated content. consumers trust influencers more than brands. It's social proof right there. If you engage with a customer who has a large following, is well known in their community, and you can get them to do a testimonial, to talk to others about your business and your product and how great you are, then you've got that influencer on your side, and you've got social proof for all those people who are not yet your customer. They're going to see that, they're going to identify with that influencer, and they're going to want to give you a try as well.
And what you see here is the full range of opportunities for you. 92% of consumers trust recommendations from other people, all the way to 20% of women active on social media are motivated to consider products promoted by bloggers that they know. There is a increasingly growing community of bloggers and YouTubers who specialize in the application of women's products. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of makeup specialists who have relationships with various brands and who are relied upon to give accurate representations of what those brands' products do, and people make buying decisions upon them, and that's actually how they make their living. Because if what I'm doing is telling you how to use I was going to say use a lipstick, but this is just an example. If I was telling you how to use a lipstick and how good it looks on me, I guarantee you that if you're watching my YouTube channel, there will be an advertising link right next to it that is paid for by the same company that provided that lipstick to me, and I get a percentage of something when you click on that purchase link to buy that lipstick.
And
I could probably come up with a better example. Huh?
User-generated content is basically if you have a group of people who use your product and they're on Facebook, you can send out a message to them and they can respond there. Much like GoPro asks for their customers to send in their videos so that they can share them with the world. Here's what you can do with a GoPro. And that's a very visual message. So something like that is ideal.
And if nothing else, make sure that you engage your customers as a small business, especially, and you ask them for the sale, in the sense that you ask them to, if they felt good about the meal that they just had or the product they just purchased from you, ask them to mention you on their social media, or to use the promotional media like Yelp or Google for Business, et cetera, Make the ask. Don't expect that they're going to do it without you asking them to do it.
Number 5, social activism. How do you feel about a company that offers a discount to military and seniors? I personally feel like they care about the community. Whether they do or not, it doesn't matter. What I perceive of them is what matters, because, okay, they care about my uncle who is a veteran, or they care about my grandpa who's a senior. They care about the people in my life, so I'm going to do business with them.
I love companies that give discounts to seniors and veterans.
Because you are both.
But it's what you're looking at is you're starting to dig into the soul of the company. And again, irrespective of your politics, look at where they're active, look at what they do for the community, and look at how they use that as a promotional tool, not in an obtuse way, but taking advantage of the fact, if we got Memorial Day coming up here, and you're going to see a lot of Memorial Day sales. Look at the companies that are going beyond the Memorial Day sale and maybe doing something special, inviting veterans to come in and, for a free meal or whatever it might be for that particular occasion. So social activism is important, and you can leverage social activism. It's part of that social media ecology that we talked about earlier.
And not only by giving a discount, but also you can be doing some sort of a donation, especially if there's an event like the B2B Expo. A lot of the companies who were supporting that were giving donations, and the donations eventually wound up helping out charities. So that gave them that additional advertising that they were donating. Or you can volunteer, and for instance, you can do the Walk for Breast Cancer. I did that back in October, and we represented Finally Fit, and we have t-shirts, and that's just a great way to get our name out there.
I took the boys, my grandsons, to the Run for the Zoo, and I was really surprised at the number of companies that were participating as sponsors in the event. And it looked like the Run for the Zoo had done a really good job of selecting the sponsors so they were right for the event, and it looked good for the sponsors as well. Got them an opportunity to share in the experience.
So those are our 5 top tips for socializing like the big brands. And we thank you so much for joining us today. Please take this opportunity to like our page, Videotero, on Facebook, and to subscribe to our YouTube channel to get updates on future videos.
And that's all I got.
Okay. And for Videotero, the weekly vlog, I'm Shelley Carney.
And I'm Toby Younis. Thanks for watching. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Bye-bye.